Well, if I change my lipstick and my t-shirt, nobody's gonna know that I filmed 5 videos in the same day. Hello everyone, I'm Adina from Plantsbutbetter, and today I'm talking about this beautiful plant, Sansevieria Whale Fin. So first of all, it's gorgeous. I find this plant very attractive and it's very easy to care for. That's why we have it in our care meter as a 9 out of 10. So it's perfect for you if you're a beginner or you don't want to spend much time on indoor gardening. Let's talk about light. Sansevieria Whale Fin grows best in bright and direct light. It can tolerate a few days of bad lighting, but I wouldn't recommend making that a habit. This plant has a reputation of growing in low light, but I don't agree with that because lack of light will show on new growth. What do I mean by that? If your offsets are growing up skinny, that's a clear sign your Sansevieria is lacking light. So I have an example in here. This plant is a propagation. As you can see, these offsets seem fine, but the little one on the back is very skinny and tiny, and it has been there for a very long time. And this is a clear sign that you should rotate your plant every time you water it. If you don't have enough light in your home, you can help it with artificial grow lights. I did that as well and it went fine. Moving on to watering, when it's best to water your plant. This plant likes very little water. You can water it once every 2 weeks during summer and once a month during winter, maybe even less, depending on your home conditions. If it's colder, water less. Check the soil every time you water it because you want to make sure the substrate is completely dry. Not an inch dry, just completely dry. Snake plants in general don't like excess water, and it's the same case with this one. Moving on to temperature. This plant thrives in average temperatures. I keep mine in 23 to 25 even degrees Celsius. You can go higher but not lower. If you keep your plant in temperatures lower than 15 degrees Celsius, they could get permanent damage, and that's something you really want to be avoiding. Moving on to humidity. I think it's best for this plant to just let it chill in your average home humidity. It does great in 40 to 60%. I think you can go even lower than that, but not higher. I mean, this plant doesn't need any misting, it doesn't need a humidifier, so it's great if you leave it alone. It's not a drama queen in that sense. In any sense, actually. What about fertilizing? How often should you feed it? I fertilize my Sansevieria Whale Fin once a month during growing season, and usually in the winter I stop doing that. Winter is actually associated with dormancy, and that means that your plant is gonna have a little break in which it will not grow, basically. And if it's not growing, it doesn't need any feeding. However, if your plant is still growing during winter time, you can fertilize it a little bit less often with a more diluted solution. As for the NPK ratio, I alternate between 10-10-10 and 15-30-15. The second one is for the root development. An NPK ratio with higher phosphorus amounts will help the roots grow a bit better. And I find that this Sansevieria has a little bit less roots than others, so that's why I alternate. Moving on to substrate. Sansevieria Whale Fin, surprise surprise, likes less water than most plants. That's why the substrate should drain water as fast as possible. I use a mix based on regular cacti soil with some perlite, some coco coir and some pine bark. And in here I don't see any pine bark, so it's totally optional, but it's great to have it. You can also use regular potting soil for this plant, but please use it with at least perlite. This will make the substrate a bit more lighter and it will really help with those roots. What about plastic versus terracotta? I tried growing these plants in both, and all I can say is that this plant does great in both mediums. Pictures right here. Please make sure that the pot has drainage holes. Those are very important unless you really know what you're doing. And another tip for this plant is to choose a pot slightly bigger than the leaf itself. And this is the best example I have. So when I received this plant, it was in a very small pot. It was smaller than this one, and because of the pot, the leaf actually curled inwards. When I moved it to a slightly bigger pot, it did recover a little bit, but not 100%, as you can see. It's not really something that bothers me, the fact that it's a little bit curly, but I thought that this is something you might want to know. Great, what about repotting? So it's unlikely to repot your Sansevieria Whale Fin that often, but if that happens, it is usually because the roots have conquered the pot, or if you want to propagate this plant by division. Another reason could be that the soil got very soggy over time and you need to change it with a fresh mix, but that usually happens less often. It's great if you can do it in the growing season because the roots will recover a bit faster, but it's not mandatory. I mean, if your plant needs a repot during winter, do it. Moving on to propagation. Best type of propagation for this plant is by division. So you just wait for the new offset to be a little bit stronger and then remove it from the mother plant, and then you have a new plant. Or if you want to achieve this type of structure, let's put it that way, you have to wait until your leaf is quite mature, and then you just cut it, place it directly into soil if you have luck doing that. I don't. Or put it into water and wait for the new roots to come out, like in this example right here. So in here I have a leaf cutting with a new pop already, and as you can see the roots are still developing. I mean, I will not move this into a substrate too soon, and I have this leaf cutting in water for quite some time, so it will take a few months to get to this point, and then when you're satisfied with the roots you can place it into soil. It's safer with water propagation for me, and I don't know if you know about this, but usually when you try to do cuttings of snake plants, for example if you have a moonshine snake plant or a Laurenti snake plant, and you take cuttings and put it into water, they will actually grow regular snake plants. They will not grow as moonshine or as Laurenti. And this is not the case with the whale fin Sansevieria. This will grow as a whale fin as well. That's why leaf propagation is successful for this kind of plant. I will talk about it in a different video with a bunch of experiments. Okay, moving on to pests. I had the luck to not get any pests on this plant. But if there is any pest that I could think of, it could be maybe mealybugs or scale. If this happens, we definitely have an article or a video about this, or very much planning to do so. And what I can say for now is to inspect your plant every time you water it. This is how you can prevent and spot the problem in time. And lastly, what about toxicity? Is this plant safe for my pets? And unfortunately, it is not. Please keep it away from any cute animal because this could cause irritation and maybe some other nasty side effects. This is it with the care video. If I've missed something or if you have any questions about this plant, let me know in the comments. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up because it will make this video accessible to more people. And don't forget, until next time, to take care of yourself and your plants.